I told you that that thing that you're doing to try and make yourself feel better is actually what's keeping you stuck? Hi, I'm Victoria Pearson, but you can call me V, and every week on this channel I share little ways that we can grow together. I'm not an expert in self-improvement, I'm not an expert in mental health, I'm just sharing the things that have helped me along the way, and I'm hoping that they help you too. So today we are going to talk about sitting in our discomfort. And the reason that I'm talking about this today is because a few weeks ago, I went away for my first trip in 26 years. I went on a plane for the first time since 1999, and I went to Hamburg to be a sighted guide for my friend Sassy Wyatt of Blind Girl Adventures. I did a podcast about it afterwards with my friend the Barefoot Backpacker, and we talked about all sorts of things in the trip. But one of the things that we spoke about was how I have not been on a plane for so long that mobile phones were not a common thing when I last went on one. And as a result, I wasn't sure when you are allowed to switch phone off of airplane mode and start to use it again. And so I didn't for the whole flight. I sat there for an hour and a half thinking about how it feels very claustrophobic in here, and I can feel every air current that we're bumping over, and I'm wondering how old the plane is, and just generally being a little bit uncomfortable for an hour and a half flight. After that went out, my friend Sassy watched it, and after she had told me off for throwing her under the bus on a few things, she said to me, I didn't realise that you were feeling uncomfortable during that time. She's blind, so she didn't know that I wasn't on my phone, and she was just sitting quietly to give me a little bit of a break and a little bit of calm time. And if she had known that I was feeling anxious, she would have spoken to me about it, she would have helped me and distracted me from it. And I said to her, well, I think it's actually really good for you to sit in your discomfort sometimes, because it helps to teach your nervous system that feeling anxious or uncomfortable isn't necessarily unsafe. We had a little chat about it, and she told me that I should come and talk to you guys about it, and so that's why I am here today. So let's talk first about why we're feeling that kind of anxiety. I don't necessarily mean clinically diagnosed anxious conditions here. I'm talking about that sort of fear that we all feel before a new thing, that fluttery feeling in your chest, that feeling of tightness, that feeling of not being able to get your words out. But these techniques may well help for diagnosed anxiety as well. See, the thing is, as humans, we're actually quite vulnerable animals. We haven't got big sharp teeth, we haven't got long sharp claws, we don't have a thick hide to protect us from predators. And so the thing that has always kept us safe through every stage of evolution is our brains. We are incredibly good at spotting patterns, especially faces in things, because of that part of our brain that is constantly scanning for predators. When we were, millions of years ago, little hairy monkey men walking through the forest, we would need to spot very quickly if something could be a face, because that would mean that it could be a predator about to attack us. Now, we've evolved massively since then in the way that we live, but that little part of our brain is taking quite a long time to catch up, because it's a really important part of our brain. That is what has kept us alive and thriving for millions and millions of years, is the ability to pick out danger in a sea of information. Nowadays, when I'm walking through my local woods, I am highly unlikely to be attacked by a saber-toothed tiger or any other predator. I live in the UK. I am the predator here. But my little monkey brain doesn't know that yet. My little monkey brain is still constantly scanning for threats. And in our modern worlds, we are throwing so much stimulation at our brains all the time that that piece of our brain has to work overtime all the time to make sure that we are safe. So I get up in the morning and I'm immediately blasting information into my brain from my phone. I drive through town and I'm getting billboards and road signs and having to predict people's behaviour. The wheels on that car are turning this way, but they're indicating that way. My brain needs to work out what the danger is here. Are they going to cut across my path? Do I need to slow down? We are constantly feeding our brains all of this information, and our brains are constantly scanning it for threats. And that is in general a good thing. It is what keeps us safe. That fear that you feel before you do something is your brain's way of making sure your body is taking in the surroundings and making sure that you're going to be safe throughout it. That is why, for some of us, picking up the phone and making an appointment feels a lot like being chased by a wild tiger. Your brain is saying, I don't like this, therefore it could be dangerous, and I've got to make sure that I'm safe. And so it makes you feel all these fear feelings, and then you maybe don't do the thing and you stay safe. You feel relieved because that feeling has gone away, and that reinforces the idea to your brain that yes, there was something to be scared of and now it has gone. I like to think of that part of my brain as being like a really big, fierce, protective, loyal, but also really quite stupid dog. If you imagine for a second that you've got a big pet dog and it is reactive to fireworks, it's frightened of fireworks. So as soon as fireworks go off, you immediately, action stations, calm my dog down. So you put him in his calm, safe space and you put a blanket over it, you create a little safe cave, and you plug in a hormone diffuser that's going to calm your dog down, and the dog thinks, okay, I've been taken away from that danger and I am now safe. What you're also teaching that dog is fireworks are unsafe, that's why I'm reacting to them. If instead, when you hear a firework go off and your dog reacts fearfully, you completely ignore that fear and carry on with your normal day, your dog will quickly learn that, hey, the person in charge is not scared of this, therefore it can't be scary. And they'll stop being scared of it. And your brain is very, very much like that. When you react to your fear and your discomfort by trying to take it away, you're not giving your brain the opportunity to work through that and realize that it is already safe. In fact, you're reinforcing the idea that you might be unsafe by making a doctor's appointment when you avoid that and do it online instead. Or when you cancel going to a party because you can't face the idea of being in a room with lots of people that you don't know very well. Your brain has a sense of relief when you cancel, and it thinks the danger has passed. And so you're teaching your brain that yes, that was a dangerous situation, but it's okay, we got away. And that can actually end up feeding your anxiety in a massive self-serving cycle. Whenever we do something new, we have this kind of anxiety response, and that is purely because of that dog part of your brain. Millions of years ago, when we were doing lots and lots of new things and nobody had really tried anything before, things were potentially dangerous. You play with fire, you might get burned. You eat that mushroom, you might die. And so whenever we try a new experience, that dog part of our brain goes on to alert. Be careful. This might be dangerous. This could be bad for us. And of course, now, most of the time, the things that we're feeling anxious about, they're not going to harm us at all. But our brain is still working on that. It's still trying to keep us alive. So your brain goes, here's a new experience. That's a potential danger. Let's create anxiety to get us out of this situation so that we're not in any danger. You remove the discomfort. Your brain feels relief. And it reinforces the idea that there was something to be scared of in the first place. The way to actually update your nervous system so that it learns that things like going to a doctor's appointment, going to a party, giving a speech in front of people are not actually life-threatening, you need to update your software by sitting in that discomfort. And if you sit in that discomfort, like I did on that plane, what you will notice is that it will rise. It will start to feel unbearable. You will feel panicky. That panic will peak and then it will subside and go away. And your brain will learn that actually this particular thing that we just did isn't dangerous. We sat in this discomfort. We went through the other side of it. Nothing came along to relieve it, and I'm still okay. Avoiding that discomfort, for example, if I had gone on my phone, read a book, or started knitting on that plane instead of sitting in that discomfort, means that my dog brain is going to interpret that as this was dangerous. We needed to relieve that danger. Feeling that fear made me relieve that danger. I was right to be scared about that. But if you sit in it, as I say, it will rise to a peak and then it will subside. And then your brain will go, oh, there was nothing to be scared of there after all. And it may take a few different training sessions to teach your dog brain that that is not something to be scared of, but it will learn that. Growth can't happen when you're sitting in your comfort zone. Nothing good ever came of no struggle at all. If I want to learn a new skill, I have to work at that new skill. And there's going to be a time when it doesn't feel very good and I'm not doing it very well and it's all out of my comfort zone and this isn't something that I'm used to. But if I keep pushing through that, I will learn how to do the thing and I'll be able to. When I learnt to drive, when I first got in a car, I was very, very anxious behind the wheel and held it really, really tight. And I was very, very scared that we were all going to die. And I sat in that discomfort and I went and I repeated that again and again and again. And I still felt anxious before driving lessons often. And sometimes I wanted to cancel those driving lessons often. But I pushed through and I went and did it anyway. And that repetition made my nervous system settle right down and realize that yes, we have to be vigilant in this situation. It is quite dangerous to drive a car, but we don't have to be hyper vigilant. We don't have to run away from this. This is something that we can tackle together safely, and everything will be okay. What is familiar to us is not always healthy for us. You can get yourself stuck into patterns of behavior that do not serve you. You can get yourself stuck in old relationship patterns. You can get yourself stuck in procrastination, and that will feel comfortable for you. It will, because a lack of growth always does. Stagnation always does. In order to grow, we have to push through our discomfort, push through our nerves. And when we do push through that, what our nervous system learns is, I can do hard things. I can tolerate uncertainty. I can tolerate a little bit of discomfort, and everything will be okay. I'm not saying that you should be punishing yourself and forcing yourself into situations where you suffer and are massively uncomfortable. That's not what this is about. It does mean that you can sit in boredom for a few minutes. Maybe the next time that you're waiting for a bus, you don't get your phone out of your pocket, and your brain can learn that being bored for a few minutes isn't going to hurt. It means going to the party even though you've got a few butterflies in your tummy and you think you might actually just sit at home in front of the telly today instead. No, go to the party, push yourself through, have an amazing time there. Take yourself to dinner alone and don't get your phone out of your pocket. Sit in the discomfort of not speaking to anybody or watching something while you're eating. Just observe your surroundings, enjoy your meal, give it your full attention. You deserve that. And you will learn that it's not that bad. See if you can do a whole train ride without getting your phone out once. Sitting there without any distractions whatsoever is not going to do you any harm whatsoever. I sat on that plane for an hour and a half with no distractions, and it was absolutely fine. Nothing bad happened to me. Notice how those things feel in your body while you're doing them. If you're sitting there eating your lunch alone in a restaurant and you haven't got your phone, notice where in your body that feels anxious. Remind yourself that although it's uncomfortable, you are completely safe. You are not only completely safe, but you can have a nice time while sitting outside of your comfort zone. You can expand your comfort zone to include this thing. Let your system regulate in that discomfort without trying to interrupt it, without trying to distract it, without trying to divert it. Just being there. Because being a little bit uncomfortable is actually part of the human condition. Being a little bit anxious is part of the human condition. Being a little bit nervous is part of the human condition. And it's important that our bodies can tolerate those sorts of things. Because once you've taught your body to tolerate sitting in boredom, sitting in discomfort, pushing through nerves, there won't be anything left that can scare you anymore. Learning to sit in your discomfort for a few moments, even if it's just for a few minutes, every now and then, it will teach your nervous system to regulate itself. You will become less afraid of your own internal experiences, and in doing that, you will become more in tune with your own intuition and your own gut feeling and what feels right for you and what doesn't feel right for you versus what is uncomfortable but doable for you. Being uncomfortable is part of the human experience, and growth is always a little bit uncomfortable. A child can't be born without a little pain. You can't build muscles without sweating a little bit. And this is a part of that. You can't have wonderful new experiences if you let your fears stop you. Now, for some people with like a really strong clinical anxiety, you might find this more difficult to do on your own. So start with something very, very small. Start with drinking your morning cuppa without scrolling your phone, and just be and notice how you are in your body and let your brain be bored. Or talk to one person that you wouldn't normally talk to, maybe the shopkeeper or somebody at the bus stop. Go a little bit beyond nice weather we're having, isn't it? Just enough to make yourself feel a little bit angsty, but not too much. Start off small, build up to the bigger things. And if you're still really struggling with that, there are therapists that specialize in this sort of therapy and helping people to push through this, and it is absolutely okay to ask for support with it. But for the vast majority of us, we will be able to start building this into our daily routines easily and independently by just starting very, very small. And so that is why I think it is really important for us to sit in our discomfort sometimes. That is how we grow. Those who don't move don't notice their chains. You've got to move around a little bit. You've got to expand your field of experience a little bit to be able to get the most out of this life. I think, anyway. Do let me know what you think in the comments if you think that I am chatting complete rubbish, or if this has worked for you in the past as well. Thinking of my brain as being a big protective dog that really wants to help protect me but gets it wrong sometimes and needs a little bit of training of what is a danger signal and what is just the postman, has really helped me to push through my anxiety, and I hope that it helps you as well. So join me on Monday for my next vlog. I am not entirely sure what I'm talking about yet because I wasn't actually planning on talking about this today. My plans have gone a little bit out of the window over the last couple of weeks, but I'll be here talking about something. Monday morning, 6 a.m. UK time, I'll be here talking about something. And if you can't wait until then to see me again, I will also be here every single morning in your shorts, taking a great big deep cleansing breath and letting you know something that I'm grateful for. And it makes my little heart so happy when I see you guys in the comments telling me the things that have made you happy and what you're grateful for that day. My comment section becomes a little list of tiny joys, and those notifications are so, so lovely to me. So do continue to do that. Like and subscribe, or don't, I'm not your mum, but either way, you have yourself a magical week.